Number 2 GB18, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dewbs & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question, that's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Dewbs & Co. Coming up tonight, the pressure is on for Rachel Reeves to resign for misleading the public. Currently, though, she is going nowhere, but should she? On the other hand, though, it's nice, isn't it, to see at least one person willing to take ultimate accountability for ridiculousness. The head of the OBR has today dramatically resigned. Also today, Keir Starmer saying this.
Our welfare state is trapping people not just in poverty, but out of work.
Yeah, you don't say. Some people now even questioning what is the point of actually going to work? Do you think Labour has it in them to dramatically reform welfare? And let's have a quick check-in, shall we, with how the plan to send the not-so-small boat migrants back to France is going. 150 people have been sent there, while in the same period, almost 14,000 people arrived here. What an absolute clown world. Also, we've had high-profile defections to Reform UK today, including one former MP who previously said, and I quote, there was not a cat in hell's chance he would ever go there. OK. On my panel tonight to get stuck into that and more, the pollster academic and GB News presenter Matt Goodwin and the trade unionist and political commentator Andy Twelves. But before we get stuck in here, your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Very good evening. It's just gone 6 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story this evening, Office for Budget Responsibility Chairman Richard Hughes has resigned. In a letter sent to Rachel Reeves and the chair of the Treasury Select Committee, Hughes says he wants to ensure the OBR gets the chance to quickly move on from this regrettable incident. It comes after the OBR this afternoon published a report urging an immediate change to its leadership after it mistakenly released an analysis of the budget early. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch accused the Chancellor of using Mr Hughes as a human shield and has called on Rachel Reeves to resign. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is pressing ahead with a major welfare reform drive, arguing that the current system is trapping young people outside the workforce and holding back economic growth. He says that the budget was a moment of personal pride after scrapping the two-child benefit cap, a move expected to lift around 450,000 children out of poverty. But the political pressure is far from over. Labour is still fending off claims it misled voters about the scale of financial challenge after Rachel Reeves confirmed £26 billion in tax rises. Whilst Keir Starmer defended his Chancellor, Shadow Chancellor Sir Mel Stride told the Commons today that it's not just the opposition who are upset. Now, a new wave of disruption is hitting Birmingham as agency workers hired to cover striking bin crews have now voted to join the strikes themselves. Unite says agency staff are walking out over bullying, harassment and fears of blacklisting, with numbers growing daily. Directly employed bin workers have already been striking since January, a dispute that could now run beyond next year's local elections. Well, Christmas is on its way as Downing Street turned on its Christmas lights this afternoon. Featured a 19-foot Norway spruce from the Cadeby Tree Trust in Leicestershire. A community hero, Sam, was given the honour of pressing the button, while the Prime Minister hosted a Christmas-style market, showcasing small businesses, frontline workers and community champions. Small businesses are set for a bumper festive season, with spending up 19% on the last year, which could provide an extra £5 billion boost. And if social media is making your blood boil, you might be a victim of rage bait, Oxford's word of the year. The phrase describes posts designed purely to provoke outrage and drive clicks. The use of rage bait tripled in the past year, reflecting what linguists say is a shift from curiosity-driven clickbait to algorithms amplifying anger. It beat Aura Farming and Biohack, the top title, while the Cambridge chose Parasocial and Collins went for vibe coding, all capturing the strains of life lived online. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you very much for that, and hello, good evening to each and every one of you. How are you doing tonight? Are you in the Christmas spirit? The studio here all decked out. I absolutely love it. I hope you've got your trees up and your lights up at home and you're at least kind of getting into the vibe. I know it is only the 1st of December, but that's all right, isn't it? I am Michelle Dewberry with you till 7, alongside me the Polestar academic and GB News presenter Matt Goodwin and the trade unionist and political commentator Andy Twelves. Gents, do you ever feel rage bait? That was the word of the year. Do you experience that?
I think anyone who's seen my social media knows I definitely get rage bait.
Oh, do you?
As a left-wing contributor on GB News, I often am rage baited, certainly.
Do you? I don't think I get rage bait. I think I am quite chilled out on social media. You know, I swear like a trooper in real life, ladies and gents, and I don't think I've ever sworn on social media, and that's my benchmark, really, as to how I am kind of keeping my cool and being professional. I mean, I've been tested, I can tell you, but so far I think I've passed that test. Look, also, I want you to join the conversation in all the usual ways. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. You can get in touch on the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. But look, have you been following all these twists and turns over the weekend? The big question about whether or not Rachel Reeves misled us, the public. Long story short, I'll give you the shortened version. The allegation is that when she was kind of doing press conferences, interrupting your breakfast and all the rest of it, she was trying to make out that the situation in the public finances was absolutely dire, whereas actually she'd already been told by the OBR previously that it wasn't as dire as expected at all, and in fact things were looking pretty good. Huge calls now for Rachel Reeves to resign. The Treasury Secretary James Murray, he was speaking out in her defence today. Let's take a listen.
Took the step of delivering a speech before the budget precisely so that she could be upfront about the circumstances she was facing and the decisions that she would need to take. The Chancellor has been honest and consistent with the public in everything she has said.
Well, Mel Stride, he was having absolutely none of that. Let's take a listen.
We expect those in positions of power to act with transparency, openness and integrity. But it is increasingly clear that in recent weeks the conduct of people in government fell short of those standards. This is not just my view. Indeed, a member of the Cabinet is quoted in the press today saying, and I quote, "The handling of this budget has been a disaster from start to finish."
Well, someone who did have accountability was the head of the OBR. He resigned today. Damning report into what created that leak, by the way. You'll never guess this if you know anything basic about technology or anything like that. The OBR was running their website on WordPress. If you're not very technical, WordPress is the kind of thing that you'd offer to your 12-year-old kid who wants to start blogging about their day at school. Mind-blowing. Anyway, nice to see a bit of accountability. Should she go? Should she stay or what?
Of course, she should resign. Absolutely. The wrong person today resigned, the head of the OBR. Rachel Reeves should have gone. She basically lied to the country. She made everybody think that there was a certain thing going on, but we now know, looking at the correspondence from the OBR and other places, that she knew she had a surplus of around $4 billion. And what she did is she basically misled the country in order to justify those huge welfare spending splurges. She did it in a very underhand way, actually, and that's what I think gets a lot of people going. You look at the YouGov polling today, only 19% of Brits say that Rachel Reeves is trustworthy. I actually think that's a bit high. I actually think it should be a lot lower, because what she did really, Michelle, was quite outrageous. She will now forever be seen not only as the woman who lied about her CV, who lied about tax rises last year, but who now also lied about the state of the country's finances this year. I mean, she is on her way out. The question is when.
Is she?
I don't know if she's on her way out. I think it's right that the chair of the OBR resigns. I mean, why would the Chancellor ever want the OBR forecast to be leaked 30 minutes before the budget? That's nothing that she would ever want to happen. So I don't think it is her fault. As you said, it was quite a small technical error of them just uploading it slightly earlier and having a URL that was easily replicable. Like, that's a human mistake, and I think it is good that in an age of mistrust in politics over the last 10 years, you know, someone's finally taken accountability and gone, yeah, do you know what, that was his fault and his call. Should Rachel Reeves resign? I don't think so. I think there were some great things in the budget, if not least the abolition of the two-child benefit cap. You know, that's a reform policy.
No. I think that'll
lift thousands of children out of poverty.
That's not a reform policy, by the way. Do you know the difference between the Labour policy and the reform policy?
What?
The Labour policy are taking off the cap for everybody, which will mainly benefit disproportionately families of Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Nigerian heritage. Reform's policy is very clear. They're restricted to British families and to people who are working, because what we've seen this week is absolutely outrageous. Do you know, if you're a British worker now, you need to earn £90,000, right? £90,000 just to keep up with a family with 5 children on welfare benefits. That's the social contract your party has created.
I don't think that's true.
That's true.
That's true at all.
Well, that's the Centre of Social Justice that came out in the Telegraph newspaper 2 days ago that showed, also on average, British families are now £18,000, British working families are £18,000 worse off than people who are on welfare benefits. What your party's doing to this country, or Labour, what they're doing to this country is they're creating perverse incentives where it makes more sense now to live on welfare, to live on dependency, than it does to go to work. And this is absolutely bonkers.
I don't think that's the Labour Party's fault. I mean, wages have been stagnating.
Of course it's the Labour Party's fault. You're choosing to expand welfare.
Right, just hold on, because he just made a claim and you said that that's not true, and I just want to bring some clarity. It is true what he's just said.
Thank you.
So if you're a family of 5, you need, if you want to be in work, £90,000 a year to match jobless households' combined benefit income. For a family of 3 in work, you would need to earn £71,000 before tax to match the equivalent jobless family, what they are getting in these benefits. So what he said is true. How do you...
Well, I assume a lot of those, the 3-person or 5-person family would also receive some form of benefit that those out of work would also do. So I don't think that's the true figure.
Andy,
we're getting figures that none of us have read.
No, I've read them.
I mean,
it's a Centre for Social Justice.
I mean, the Centre for Social Justice, a right-wing think tank, to be clear. They are a centre-right think tank.
It doesn't.
Let's not act like they're the, you know,
Andy, the numbers have been plastered all over the newspapers over the weekend. What this Labour government is doing, to be clear, is creating a system where people are now incentivised to live on welfare rather than go to work. We're going to be spending as a country £400 billion by the end of this decade on welfare. It's absolutely obscene. So the people watching this show, they're being forced to bankroll broken borders. They're being forced to bankroll 10 billion quid for welfare benefits for people who aren't even from this country. And now they're being forced to bankroll hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are living on welfare with no requirement to even look for work. Of the 8.5 million people on welfare, nearly half of them have no requirement to look for work. And then Labour people are like, where's the growth? Why is our economy stagnating? There's a pretty big reason why, because nobody has any incentive to go to work.
I think it's completely unfair to go, this has all gone wrong in the last 18 months. For the better part of a decade, we've had stagnated wages, bills going through the roof. It is completely unfair. It was the Tory government that did most of this damage. But of course, it's all Rachel Reeves' fault.
How many more people are on welfare a year after Labour coming to power than were on welfare
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Do you want to have a guess?
No.
It's 1 million people. Right. 1 million more people on welfare a year after Labour came to power, because that's what Labour do.
But on welfare, welfare is such a broad term. What do you mean by welfare? Is that in-work benefits, out-of-work benefits?
Accessing some form
Plenty
of
of people who
benefits.
work harder than both of us are on benefits. They're on in-work benefits. Plenty of them are.
I mean, clarity, I work exceptionally hard.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. But lots of people are working extremely hard,
Andy,
and they have in-work benefits. The idea that anyone who's on benefits is lazy or whatever is just simply not true.
You know what? I'm 44 this month. For the first time in my life, when I was thinking about that, saying I work hard, for the first time in my life, I now feel like I'm living in a country where I'm not really sure why I'm working so hard, because this social contract that I'm paying for, that millions of workers out there are paying for, it doesn't make any sense. Why am I paying for people who aren't British to live on welfare? Why am I paying for millions of people to live on welfare?
Answer that question. Why are my viewers all grafting, going to work to pay for benefits for people that are not British?
Well, if they're a citizen of this country, or they've got a indefinite leave to remain, then as the law sees them, they've been here long enough to be part of our society, and they've paid in enough, or would in theory pay in enough to receive the benefits if they needed them. I mean, we can get into quite a deep debate about visa contingencies and whether ILR should be abolished, or are we giving out citizenship too liberally? I mean, that's a completely different discussion. But functionally, a lot of these people on paper are British. As the state views them, they are British. We can get into a debate about whether they've got dual nationalities or whatever, but on paper they are also British.
We're treating people in hospital corridors, we're treating people in car parks, while as a country, while as a country, we are spending more than £22 billion a year on foreign aid and benefits for people who are not British. Cicero, the Roman statesman, said the first duty of the state is to look after your own people. We have a government, and I'd say agree with you, actually, we have had governments, both Tory and Labour, who actually no longer care about putting the British people first. That's why we're seeing all of this change in the polling, because for the first time, people can see that now. They can see that actually, if you're a hard-working British person, you are now a second-class citizen in this country. You are a second-class citizen in this country. And I've never seen a social contract like this in my life. Again, why am I here? Why don't I go to America? Why don't I go to Australia? Because I love this country. I want to see it thrive. But Labour are doing everything they can to clobber workers in this country.
I mean, as you say, successive governments, this isn't just an 18-month thing. This goes back years and years and years. Why is it then that Reform UK, the party that you are a member and advocate for, are accepting so many of the Tories that were the architects of this broken system, that were the architects of austerity, that caused it?
On in the programme, Tim, one of my viewers, has said, Michelle, loads of companies use WordPress for their operations. It's no excuse for the mistake. Yes, Tim, but the point is there's nothing wrong with WordPress, but you shouldn't be using it if you are the OBR and you publish such sensitive information. There's no excuse for that. John says, Michelle, I think we should have a national strike until Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer resign. Hey, John, I think you'd be on strike for quite some time there, my friend, I've got to say, because I don't actually think they'll be going anywhere anytime soon. Deborah says, Michelle, you are better off on benefits. They should start taxing benefits more. That would increase tax revenues and make things fairer even more. She says, ultimately, nobody should be better off on benefits. And I completely agree with you, Debbie, and this is the point, Deborah, sorry. This is the point. Many people feeling now that seesaw, the balance of fairness, has tipped in the wrong direction. If you're one of those people, or you have a different view, get in touch, join the conversation, all the usual ways. I will return to the conversation of welfare a bit later on in the programme. I'll also look at these Tory defections to Reform UK as well. But coming up after the break, let's have a little check-in, shall we, with how this scheme to return the not-so-small boat migrants to France is going.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, almost time for Dewbs & Co. I was on autopilot then. It's definitely time for Dewbs & Co. I was looking at some of your comments and you're confusing me, so you are. Anyway, look, I've got Andy Twelves here and Matt Goodwin alongside me till 7. I do just want to have a quick check-in with how this scheme to deport not-so-small boat migrants to France is going. What do you think the numbers are, ladies and gents? I can tell you 153 people have been deported back to France. 141 have come here in return, because don't forget it's a one-in, one-out scheme, so-called. Of course, we've already seen a couple of people be sent back and come back, which is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, in that same period of time that we have returned 153 people, get this, almost 14,000 people have arrived. This is a clown world, isn't it?
It's a clown world. It's also a very depressing world because the cost for the British people is about 15 billion quid just in accommodation costs for people over the next 10 years. And the British state is not even telling people the truth. The contracts for accommodation are being laid out by the Home Office going deep into the 2030s. There's no desire, there's no serious interest within government, within the corridors of power to solve this crisis. The Labour government have no idea. This game of hokey-cokey that's taking place in the borders is a joke. They've removed every deterrent that we had. They refuse to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. And yet they're still putting, you know, known people who we know now have included suspected Iranian terrorists, murderers, the murder of Rhiannon White, rapists, you know, very, very bad people in the heart of our communities. And then they forcibly reopened asylum hotels in places like Epping. It's just, it's the treating of the British people with this contempt, looking down on everybody that really gets me. And we talked about rage bait earlier. I mean, like people watching this show, I'm like beyond furious with the way in which this Labour government looks at this country and looks at the people. They would allow anybody to walk into this country. They're not vetting these guys. They're not screening these guys. And we have to watch this complete disaster unfold. I think it's outrageous, Michelle.
Do you think it's outrageous, Andy?
Yeah, as I think anyone with a brain would, to be honest. And Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, a couple of weeks ago, she did a big announcement of these kind of new regulations that she's bringing in against the small boat migrants and different things about the Refugee Convention and stuff like that, that a Tory Home Secretary would never have dared do. So, you know, let's not pretend Shabana Mahmood is not serious about this issue.
She's not serious.
She absolutely
She's not serious.
She absolutely is. I know the reform line is to leave the ECHR.
It's not a line.
That would take a long time to
No, it wouldn't.
How long would it take?
No, first of all, the idea that Shabana Mahmood is some hardliner on immigration is for the birds. What she's just announced, she's going to allow illegal migrants and asylum seekers to work. She's going to open up work and study routes. She's going to allow students from other countries, including Gaza, to come here, and she's going to give them the right to settle. Now, I come from a place where I think if you enter a country illegally, if you break that country's laws, you should never be allowed to stay in that country. If your first act on entering the country is to break the law, you have violated the social contract. So the idea that Shabana Mahmood is some hardliner, I don't buy it. Reform are saying leave the ECHR because it is the only thing that will help us do what we need to do to control our borders, which is control our laws.
But how long would that take to leave the ECHR?
You submit a letter to the Council of Europe. It will take about 6 months for that process to take place. And then we leave the ECHR. And the reason you need to leave the ECHR and repeal the Human Rights Act, Tony Blair's Human Rights Act, which entrenches the ECHR into domestic law, is because Articles 3 and 8 are used by every foreign criminal, drug dealer, paedophile, rapist, terrorist to stay in the country. And that is empowering an activist lobby of lawyers, lefty lawyers, who are then undermining their own country by using international human rights laws. Fundamentally, we need to completely redesign the architecture that surrounds this issue of illegal migration. Reform, they are the only party who have understood what needs to be done in order to fix this problem.
I mean, obviously, I fundamentally disagree with that.
Why?
I think that this idea of you'll just send a letter and then that's that. There are major legal settlements in the UK, like the Good Friday Agreement is a great example, that are entrenched in the ECHR as that independent arbiter of the law on the border.
We can overcome the Good Friday Agreement.
I mean, we thought that during Brexit. It proved significantly more difficult than people on the Leave.eu or the Vote Leave campaigns were saying. It was an absolute nightmare. We need Europe to be that independent arbiter because, fundamentally, the reason that we have the troubles was because a lot of the Irish people do not trust the British government.
We don't need Europe to be an independent arbiter.
We do.
No, you think we do because you think...
I mean, the Irish people also do.
You think we do because people on the left think the true source of power lies with elites. I think the true source of power lies with the people. That's the difference between left and right. I mean, what I want to do is empower the people.
Explicitly not true. I think the left have a strong tradition of believing the power is with the workers, ergo the people.
Unless they disagree with you. Look, fundamentally, what we need to do is leave the ECHR, repeal the Human Rights Act, and not allow anybody who enters this country illegally to stay in this country, because people on the left...
Even kids?
To be frank, anybody who enters illegally... Anybody...
That's not reform.
No, my view, anybody who enters illegally, and just to be clear, because I'm sick of watching cases like Thomas Roberts, Terence Carney, Wayne Broadhurst, Rhiannon White... You know, people on the left screamed endlessly about George Floyd. They've not said a thing about British people, British women, British kids murdered, raped by illegal migrants. It's outrageous. We need to completely overturn this settlement. And I have to say, if people on the left don't understand the mood out there in the country, which you can see in the polls, that's why Labour's on 15%.
Yeah.
They are going to have one heck of a surprise at the next general election.
I think the point of Shabana Mahmood's reforms were that she's going to establish the safe and legal routes, so then anyone who comes on a dinghy, on a small boat, will be automatically rejected. They won't have to go through an appeals process or anything because it will absolutely be an invalid route. At the moment, there are no safe and legal routes for asylum seekers. It is a coin flip.
What are you talking about?
That's the point of the reform,
Andy,
Matthew.
If you're Ukrainian or a Hong Konger...
So two.
How do you think you came here?
Two.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Those are on two special schemes.
Hundreds of thousands.
Not general
What about
refugees.
the people from Gaza?
How many do you...
I think if British bombs are going and flattening Gaza, I think we have a responsibility to be involved with the rebuilding of it. I absolutely do.
Can you answer my question,
yes.
please?
How many do I...
safe and legal routes do you think this country should have into it?
I don't know, an appropriate amount so people aren't coming here illegally.
Well, how many? You must have an idea. If you've thought through your strategy of safe and legal routes, there's conflicts all over the world.
I'm sure Shabana Mahmood, I'm sure, has an idea.
You're here, I'm asking you.
I'm not in the Home Office.
Right. Okay,
I'm not in the Home Office. Do you know what I mean? Like, how many safe and legal routes do you want?
You're the one that's sitting here saying you want safe and legal routes. So I'm asking you just a broad stroke question of how there are conflicts all over the world. As a principle, I don't think you've thought through what you're actually saying. So many countries now, so many nations have got all kinds of problems. This country, so many people in this country do not think that the UK has an automatic right to have to be the destination point for conflicts.
Well, we're not for everyone. To be absolutely clear, Germany take quite a few more.
That was my question, but you're not prepared to tell me how many you think that we should have.
I don't know.
Well, don't suggest things if you don't know what you're talking about. Then
you say how will you stop the boats? How will you stop people coming across the channel? I go, we'll create safe and legal routes, so then every single person who comes across is invalid. That's the point.
All missing, including Reform UK, by the way. Your plan about tinkering and leaving the ECHR and all the rest of it, and yours about, your one in, one outs, it misses a fundamental point that many viewers will be shouting at their screens or at their car radios. Nobody's proposing actually stopping these not-so-small boats entering this country in the first place. Why has nobody got a deterrent, a defence, a patrol in the channel to stop these boats? All of your solutions, everybody, is once these people have got onto the country shores, what do we do then?
I understand what you're saying, but the reason that is a very complicated issue is because, firstly, those are international waters. We don't have legal jurisdiction over all of those waters, but they are also, that is a second-order problem. They are going to keep coming until they know they cannot stay, until the legal architecture is changed.
Well, keep coming in if you've got an intervention, if you've got the Navy in the middle of the channel and you actually physically turn them back. I don't think enough examination has been put into examining whether or not you can truly stop those boats entering.
So let's work on that hypothetical. Let's say the Navy were to intercept a boat and they were to, say, sorry, you can't come in, but that's in British UK waters.
Yeah.
They could still use international laws. You could still have lawyers saying, hang on, Article 3, Article 8, right to a family life, right not to be persecuted, right not to experience torture. We need to deal with the root cause of this issue, which is whether or not we control our own laws. If they know they can use these laws to stay in the country, which thousands of them do, that's why we're in this mess. If they know we have control over our laws and sovereignty, those boats will stop overnight. They will stop overnight. But that means we need to leave the ECHR. That is not tinkering, Michelle. That is the biggest constitutional change in 70 years.
There is a weakness. And as for you, Andy, saying, what about the children? What about the children? I'll tell you what I would do if I was Prime Minister of this country. I'd prosecute those parents. If you endanger your child to the point where you are going to risk their life, I would prosecute you for child endangerment.
I think that's a fair position to take. I think that's an absolutely fair position to take. I just don't think that kids should be punished because of what their parents made them do. To be honest with you.
I tell you, it's a good job I'm not in charge of this country, isn't it, ladies and gents? Anyway, look, coming up after the break, I do want to get more into benefits. I also want to talk about the suggestion that schools go down to 4-day weeks to help the teachers. And I've just seen as well, this isn't on the agenda for this programme, so I apologise for going off on tangents. Resident doctors, junior doctors, going on strike again? I beg your pardon. Do you support that? I'll see you in a minute.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're off to the Mediterranean in the next few days, there will be a lot of dry weather to be enjoyed, but there will also be some heavy showers in places. And across Iberia and Madeira, we have got this cold front pushing through on Tuesday, so some gusty winds and heavy rain for a time. Thunderstorms following to Portugal as well. Otherwise, across the central Med, there will be some scattered heavy showers and thunderstorms, but mostly dry across Greece and Turkey, some warm spells of sunshine here, and quite a changeable outlook for the rest of the week, but temperatures around average.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Good evening to you. We've had a Met Office amber rain warning in place through the day across parts of South Wales and other rain yellow warnings across parts of Western Britain. It has been a very soggy start to December, but the rain is now starting to ease in the west. These weather fronts are moving through, but still a band of pretty intense rain working from west to east over the next few hours before that finally starts to head out into the North Sea. Further outbreaks of rain to come and go across parts of Scotland, but many areas becoming much drier overnight with some clearer skies. That will allow the temperatures to dip to 5 or 6 degrees in towns and cities, a little lower in the countryside. It does mean a bright start to Tuesday. In fact, overall, a much brighter day tomorrow. Certainly for the Midlands and eastern England, we'll see some sunshine. Maybe a few breaks in the cloud coming through to parts of Scotland. Also, some wet weather across the Northern Isles initially, and showers will come into western Scotland all day. Elsewhere, we'll be looking at showers developing also. A few, maybe for the west of Northern Ireland, certainly around the coasts of western England and Wales, and along the south coast, there'll be some showers to start off with. And as we go through the day, those showers will tend to creep inland as well. So although not as wet as today in South Wales and southwest England, obviously any rain falling here onto the saturated ground is likely to cause further problems. But the rain, at least a bit more hit and miss in the form of showers, and certainly much in the Midlands, eastern England, good part of eastern Scotland, through the central belt, dry and bright for the most part. A little cooler than today, but we'll have a bit more sunshine, and the winds will be lighter as well. Wednesday is also a case of sunshine and showers, and again, most of the showers will be focused in western areas, particularly western Scotland. It's a good chance that eastern England will stay dry and bright. And again, nothing like as heavy the rain across parts of Wales and southwest England as today. Temperatures, again, mostly 7 to 10 or 11 degrees Celsius, about average for this time of year.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The M8 eastbound is blocked at junction 17 due to a severe incident. Emergency works continue on the A487 at Corris Uchaf. Northbound on the M18 at junction 2, a collision has led to lane closures until 7:06 p.m. Significant congestion remains on the A38 southbound between the A50 and A5132, with delays tonight. The M4 eastbound between junctions 11 and 10 faces delays after a collision, closing one lane. Debris on the A34 northbound has closed a lane. And on the trains, Thameslink and Avanti West Coast services are majorly disrupted by weather conditions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry. Till 7, I've got Matt Goodwin and Andy Twelves on my panel tonight. Jace, I like the sound of you, you're on my wavelength. He's asking, why can't we just put the Navy in the channel to turn these boats around, Michelle? He says after 3 or 4 weeks of that, I think that would absolutely deter those boats and they would get fed up. Jace, I actually think it would be a lot less than 3 to 4 weeks of trying those boat crossings. I can tell you, I think it's absolutely farcical, those scenes that you see them. They're all over social media and places like that. In Calais now, you can see people queuing up to get on these boats. Essentially, it's absolutely appalling that we send France hundreds of millions of pounds to try and deal with this stuff, because they clearly are not doing as much as I would argue they could be. Anyway, look, let's listen to Kemi Badenoch, shall we? Because she has been responding to the resignation of the boss of the OBR and giving her thoughts on Rachel Reeves.
Rachel Reeves is using Richard Hughes, the former head of the OBR, as a human shield. The fact is, this is now turned into a political crisis for the Prime Minister and his Chancellor. This is a classic example of do as I say, not do as I do. Rachel Reeves should be resigning. because she also had leaks which went on for 3 months right up until the budget was announced. So if the OBR chief is going, then she should go too.
No, she's not going to resign. I think we all realise that by now. I've got to give credit where it's due, though. I've been quite impressed with Kemi Badenoch over the last couple of weeks, especially that budget response. Everyone's saying that she was bullying Rachel Reeves. I thought she was brilliant. Let's talk about welfare then, shall we? Because one of the things that got snuck out, I would argue, in that budget, in a bit of the small print, it's about if your child has got ADHD or something like that. They used to have to do 12 hours a week, Matt, in terms of education, unpaid training, etc., in order for their parents to get some benefits. Well, now they're changing that, they're scrapping that requirement. What do you think to this?
Yeah, I mean, essentially they're making it easier for people who are claiming welfare with what some would consider to be very mild mental health issues. I believe I'm right in saying that we are, as a country, spending somewhere between £3.5 and £4 billion a year on welfare for people with conditions such as anxiety and ADHD. Now, I personally think that's crazy. I don't think that's the thing that we should be doing. But the idea, for example, that teenagers with ADHD now will no longer have to attend school or training for their parents to get welfare benefits shows, again, Rachel Reeves and Labour watering down the entire welfare regime and basically encouraging people not to engage with mainstream society and also not to engage with work, but live on welfare. This is the opposite of what we should be doing.
I think this is a bit of a silly story from the Telegraph, if I'm to be totally honest. It wasn't snuck in under the budget. It was announced on the 1st of September as part of new changes to eligibility. It's not actually about ADHD or dyslexia or anxiety or whatever, because the level of assessment that you would need for something like anxiety to still receive these benefits, it would be you'd have to faint every day when you get to the school gate or something. This is designed for people with cancer or people who are inpatient for anorexia. So this isn't about mental health or anything. Like it's almost impossible because the evidence thresholds are so high that you could get signed off without that 12-hour requirement. It's just not a realistic. And say it's snuck in the budget. It was announced on the 1st of September.
Hang on, we have millions of people in this country who are claiming welfare for mental health issues. Now, I was presented with one of those people recently during a debate on a television show who said, you know, essentially, I have anxiety. Should I not be receiving welfare? And I'm pretty old school. My answer to that is no. I think you should go to work, and I think you should build up confidence and interact and engage with people. And what worries me about the young generation today is we've had so much, you know, remote working, remote studying, had the pandemic, and it seems that even now the state is entrenching that, is encouraging them not to come out and engage with the world again. And I'm very, very, very sceptical about this welfare regime that we're building now. I think it's got completely out of control and is entering into the realm of sort of, you know, madness when you look at the sheer numbers. Total welfare spending, $400 billion by 2030. $400 billion.
I've got to say, obviously that previous story relates to child benefit, but I know that many of you will get in touch because many of you will be on benefits, you will be sick and all the rest of it, and you get very upset at the fact that you feel that you are getting scapegoated in some of these conversations about benefits. Get in touch, join the conversations. Schools, you talk about young people now, campaigners are trying to push for schools to move down to a 4-day week to help the teachers, I've got to say, not the kids. What do you think to that proposal?
I don't think a 4-day week is what's right for schools. I think if we're going to make any fundamental changes to schooling, I think it's just increasing resources, to be honest. I think often you'll have state schools that are run pretty poorly, they're underfunded, kids are without maths teachers, English teachers, core subject teachers, and I don't think a move to a 4-day week would make that any better. I think we just need to pay our teachers more and give them the resources to teach our students.
And also, what happens to parents with a 4-day week? I mean, what on earth happens to people who are out there working? What are they going to do on the Friday or the Monday or whatever the day off is? I mean, you know, I've seen this in higher education too. We need to get people back into the institutions, 5 days at school, going to university, being on campus, engaging. Maybe we need to strip degrees down, by the way, to 18 months, not 3 years, make them super intensive, get civil servants back to work, get taxpayer-funded people back into the office. It just feels to me as though sort of general standards and rigour and work, I mean, the culture of work just seems to have really eroded in recent years.
I'm going to stress you out.
What are you going to stress me out for?
I agree with Matthew.
Well,
I have to say I agree. I agree on that. We're not meant to agree on this, but I fundamentally do.
But some issue was they're kind of irrespective of party lines and political. Some issues are just basic common sense, aren't they? I do worry though for some young kids, especially when they're trying to enter the world of work, because some of them are just absolute wet lettuces, and then they go into then you go into the world of work, and it should be and often is quite tough in the world of work, and a lot of kids they actually can't cope with it. Look, I just saw as well, popping up, the resident doctors, formerly known as junior doctors, going on strike again. Now, I do apologise, it's not on the roster for the programme, so I'm going on a massive tangent, but they're going out for, this is in England, by the way, they're going out 5 days. They're going out from the 17th to the 22nd of December. You're a union man. Do you support that?
I do. I think, strike action is always the last thing that unions want, because the members don't get paid. They don't get paid for that day. No, it's always the last resort, and it's generally speaking.
There was out 5 days last.
It's generally speaking when the Department of Health refused to come to the table. When people come to the table, strikes don't happen.
28% pay rise.
Well, no, not all of that got awarded. And actually, this is about specialist places getting trained as well. The government only train, I think, 1,000 specialist places a year. And we all know about NHS capacity. It's absolutely, it's on the floor. They should be increasing the specialist capacity. They should be increasing training capacity. That's what this strike is really about. Is creating an NHS that's future-proof. Is really what it's about.
Hang on a second. Half the doctors that are trained here and go to get jobs can't get jobs because they're getting undercut by people from abroad. That's the reality, and we reject thousands of British kids every year who have grades, who want to become doctors and medical professionals, because we'd rather undercut our own people by relying on cheap migrant labour.
I completely agree.
This is another example. The public sector, right, falling over itself for more money, while productivity in the public sector it has collapsed, it's declined. And, I think
the productivity of nurses and junior doctors is pretty high, Matt.
We have governments that have not invested seriously in the people who actually make this country go round. That's the problem we've got. And the social contract here is completely lopsided. What's the average salary for one of these doctors?
For a junior doctor, it depends, because it moves up as we get trained.
Pretty decent, though.
I think once you finish your residency, it's about 40 grand. Which isn't a lot when you've done...
Plus consulting? It's a lot more, and they just got a pay rise too, so I'm sorry.
It's about conditions as well. It's about conditions. It's about those specialist places. I think that is extremely important. Then these doctors aren't having awful lives.
I know people on the left don't like to hear this, but we don't have the money. We are broke.
We have the money for pay rises for MPs every year. Why not doctors?
Listen, I'm the last one to make a defence for politicians, but we do not have the money for welfare splurges. We do not have the money for spending all of this on foreign aid. We don't have the money for welfare benefits for people who aren't British. We are broke as a country. Broke. National debt is through the roof, £111 billion a year, just on our national debt interest, before you get to the debt.
One of the things that always makes me raise an eyebrow is there's so much talk, isn't there, about restricting pensions. So you will have seen salary sacrifice and stuff like that in the budget get squeezed. Cash ISAs, you're not allowed to have much money now in those cash ISAs. The public sector pensions, though, they always seem to be pretty much untouched. Lots of these doctors, nurses, all the rest of it, they have very tidy deals when it comes to their pension conditions, don't they? In the private sector, you won't get a fraction of that in most instances, I can tell you that. Look, coming up, we've got lots more that we want to discuss. I also want to talk to you about Tory MPs that have now defected to Reform. I'll see you in a sec. I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co. with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
Oh, no, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry. I've got Andy Twelves and Matt Goodwin alongside me. One of my viewers on the website, Yours says, Michelle, the big question is how on earth are we going to maintain the workforce size when technology is slowly but surely shrinking the workforce? You make a good point, you do. The Employers' Rights Bill, there's been a lot of hoo-ha about them potentially watering that down because they had day one rights for unfair dismissal. They just removed that clause. People are saying it's going back on a manifesto pledge. What do you think?
It is going back on a manifesto pledge. Yeah,
Have you got a problem with that?
I do. I think on that I do. Yeah, I think.
Why?
I think unfair dismissal is wrong whenever it is. I don't think there should be if you're unfairly dismissed within 6 months, that's okay, but 6 months and 1 day, well, we need to do something about that. I think unfair dismissal, whenever it happens,
but the viewer makes a good point. The viewer makes a very good point, actually. Jobs are going to get harder and harder to come by as time gets on and technology becomes more advanced.
I think
you should be making it easier for organisations to hire people, not harder.
I think that's certainly the case for office-based jobs or more kind of intellectual labour jobs, certainly. But, you know, in the hospitality sector, in the construction sector, in the service economy that, you know, now makes up most of our economy, like, AI isn't going to be able to serve you drinks. AI isn't going to be able to...
I went to a restaurant the other day and my food was brought to me by a robot. I kid you not, an actual robot. Yeah, it was. It delivered my food.
Just briefly, do you know why unemployment has risen every month Labour has been in power, and why we have no growth, and why productivity is declining and GDP per capita has never been as flat? It's because now, on average, hiring somebody in this country is 15% more expensive than it was before Labour came into power because of the national insurance tax rises and the wage increases. So that is why we have an anti-business, anti-wealth, anti-prosperity country now.
Well, you know what? You can have all the workplace rights in the world, but they're only valid if you've actually got a job. People need to remember that. Anyway, look, we've got a lot of defections to Reform UK today. The one that most of you will have heard of is Jonathan Gullis. He is the former deputy chairman of the Tories, plus another two former MPs as well have defected. If Reform UK want to distance themselves so much from the Tories, why are you taking all these Tories on board then?
Well, the first thing to say is what this shows, again, is the drip away from the mainstream parties, Reform in all the polling, comfortably #1 in the national polls. I think it is important, by the way, to not just take Conservatives. I think it's very important that Reform take former Labour people, independent people, business people, people perhaps who are not really involved in politics at all. Because if you're going to be that people's movement, you need to really be drawing
people from across the
spectrum.
If you're spending all your time saying we're not like the Tories have broke the country, don't go Tories, go us, why are you taking, this is a bit I can't get my head around, why would you take so many Tories then? Because Tories are not an abstract concept, it's a group of people, isn't it?
In fairness, a lot of, I would say the vast majority of former Conservatives who have joined Reform are people who are utterly opposed to what the Tories did to the country. If you look at Danny Kruger's speech, if you look at Danny Kruger's speech, if you look at the way in which people like Jonathan Gullis and others have talked about the major mistakes they made on issues around mass migration. I think there are sincere people in politics, and I think there are insincere people. And the vast majority of the people who have crossed over to Reform, I personally believe, I know some of them, quite a lot of them personally, I think they're people of character. I think they're people who are sincere.
But John Gullis on, I think it was Politics Live on the BBC, not 6 months ago, said there were he got the phrase wrong. It was something about
he said not a hell and cat's chance.
That was it. That's what he said.
He got his saying wrong.
But he said that he was never going to join Reform. They're not nice. He doesn't like them. Blah blah blah. And now he's decided he's going to join them. I don't understand that. And the other thing,
how do you not understand? I mean, people. You are allowed to change your mind in a democracy. And the other thing that Reform have done over the last 6 months is put forward a very compelling policy alternative to the establishment. And
so my question is not just about John Gullis, but Richard Tice said, with especially a message to Tory MP Jonathan Gullis, given the multiple bits of embarrassing personal information we have on you, I suggest you pipe down on your attacks against me. What embarrassing personal information does Reform have on him that have now allowed him to join? Is that another failure of the Reform UK vetting system? Has he been blackmailed into joining? What is it?
You'd need to ask Richard about that.
Has he told you? Has he? You're a Reform insider.
You'd need to ask Richard about that. What I would say is I think there's a whole raft of people that have been waiting to see where Reform are going on policy and how they want to change the country. And now you've had comprehensive policies on crime, welfare, immigration, reforming the civil service, taking on the deep state. There's a lot of people now who are saying,
great, but let's
well,
go
hang
to the
on,
chase. How many of these people, Matt, are just sitting there going, they can't really get work now. Do you know what? If I try and attach myself to Reform, I might get a job.
Look, I've said from the very outset, anyone who joins Reform should be asked to sign a pledge, which is, I reject mass uncontrolled immigration, net zero, welfare benefits for people who aren't British, I want leave the ECHR. My view would be do something like that.
Well, there you go. Scarlett says, Michelle, I am a reformer, and I'm not happy about all these Tories jumping over to us, she says. One of my other viewers who got in touch about the technology, he says, Michelle, look ahead 10 years or so, you'll even have things like self-driving cars. Taxi drivers, he says, will be obsolete. I mean, I actually agree with what you are saying. Lots of you as well getting in touch about doctor strikes, saying, Michelle, I thought that was supposed to be a vocation and not something that you did for money. Well, there you go. That conversation will continue. But for now, thanks, panel. Thanks to you at home. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Good evening to you. We've had a Met Office amber rain warning in place through the day across parts of South Wales and other rain yellow warnings across parts of Western Britain. It has been a very soggy start to December, but the rain is now starting to ease in the west. These weather fronts are moving through, but still a band of pretty intense rain working from west to east over the next few hours before that finally starts to head out into the North Sea. Further outbreaks of rain to come and go across parts of Scotland, but many areas becoming much drier overnight with some clearer skies. That will allow the temperatures to dip to 5 or 6 degrees in towns and cities, a little lower in the countryside. It does mean a bright start to Tuesday. In fact, overall, a much brighter day tomorrow. Certainly for the Midlands and eastern England, we'll see some sunshine. Maybe a few breaks in the cloud coming through to parts of Scotland. Also, some wet weather across the Northern Isles initially, and showers will come into western Scotland all day. Elsewhere, we'll be looking at showers developing also. A few, maybe for the west of Northern Ireland, certainly around the coasts of western England and Wales, and along the south coast, there'll be some showers to start off with. And as we go through the day, those showers will tend to creep inland as well. So although not as wet as today in South Wales and southwest England, obviously any rain falling here onto the saturated ground is likely to cause further problems. But the rain, at least a bit more hit and miss in the form of showers, and certainly much in the Midlands, eastern England, good part of eastern Scotland, through the central belt, dry and bright for the most part. A little cooler than today, but we'll have a bit more sunshine, and the winds will be lighter as well. Wednesday is also a case of sunshine and showers, and again, most of the showers will be focused in western areas, particularly western Scotland. It's a good chance that eastern England will stay dry and bright. And again, nothing like as heavy the rain across parts of Wales and southwest England as today. Temperatures, again, mostly 7 to 10 or 11 degrees Celsius, about average for this time of year.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Currently, the M8 eastbound at junction 17 is blocked due to a traffic incident. On the A487 at Corris Ushaf, emergency works are causing delays in both directions. In Derbyshire, congestion on the A38 southbound between the A50 and the A5132 is resulting in a 20-minute delay. In Hampshire, debris on the A34 northbound between the M3 and the A272 has led to one-lane closure. And on the trains, Thameslink shows major disruption between London St Pancras International and London Blackfriars. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the big one. Your chance to win a whopping £85,000 in tax-free cash. The largest cash prize we've given away to date. That's like over £7,000 a month extra in your bank account each month for 12 whole months. That's a year of yes. Yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to shopping trips, yes to home improvements. For a chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one